Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. Jacksonville City Council member Jacoby Pittman went into full mammy mode to defend Florida Governor Ron Desantis after he was booed by black people during a prayer vigil for the 3 individuals who lost their lives in the Dollar General mass shooting at the hands of a white supremacist.
Well, thank you for doing this. I want to just say to the Councilwoman, I got you. Don't worry about it. We've already been looking to identify funds to be able to help, one, make sure there's adequate security for Edward Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to be targeted by people.
Okay, listen, y'all. Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside, cause it ain't about parties today. A bullet don't know a party, so don't get me started. Okay, Jacoby is nice, but Ann is not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts, because we've been through enough already, and I don't want to go through no more. Now, y'all just be quiet just a minute and let the governor say what he gonna say, and we gonna get this party started. You hear me? Okay, let's do it.
Now, at a prayer vigil for the 3 black victims who lost their lives at the hands of a white supremacist at the Dollar General mass shooting in Jacksonville, Florida, Jacksonville City Councilwoman Jacoby Pittman jumped across party lines to defend Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. And as Jacoby Pittman went to jump across party lines to defend Governor Ron DeSantis, she showed us that the God that she serves is white supremacy. Now, this prayer vigil was supposed to be an event to present people a chance to pray for the victims, but we clearly see the God that Jacoby Pittman serves, because once black people started booing Ron DeSantis, she went into full mammy mode and jumped in front of Massa Ron DeSantis, the same way a mammy would jump in front of the slave master whenever the black folks would start to get unruly. And as she jumped in front of Ron DeSantis, she basically showed every black person across the country that Jacoby Pittman isn't about looking out for black people. No, she's a full servant of white supremacy, and would even jump across party lines to defend a white man who's a part of the Red Party, because her allegiance is to white supremacy and not black people, or looking to empower black people, because it was Ron DeSantis's policies that basically added fuel to the fire of this beta male who participated in that mass shooting at Dollar General, a beta male who was so much of a coward that when he was challenged by security at a university where he planned to participate in his mass shooting, that he got up in his car and scurried away, driving up on the curb to go over to this Dollar General to participate in this consolation mass shooting, where he wound up taking the lives of 3 black people. And what's really sad here is that after these 3 black people lost their lives, what Ron DeSantis wanted to do was orchestrate this empty, symbolic prayer vigil where he would go out here and look to pander and pacify the black masses. And as those black masses were starting to stand up and take their respect from a governor who has openly disrespected them by creating legal policies that make it okay to attack protesters, which runs counter to our U.S. Constitution, which gives us rights to freedom of assembly, and wants to go out here and actively censor free speech of black people, and also wants to participate in a revisionist history campaign saying that black people who were slaves got skills as related to slavery. These are the policies that Ron DeSantis was putting in place. And what happened with Jacoby Pittman was she went out here and decided to support those policies by going out here and standing in front of Ron DeSantis, and also wanted to talk about what she was going to get from Ron DeSantis. Again, thinking that getting a whatever she got as related to a reward from Ron DeSantis was more important than showing respect to black people. And that's the thing that was absolutely disgusting about Jacoby Pittman's behavior, was that she basically, on an unconscious level, got spellbound in the presence of that white man, jumped into the mammy box to be acceptable to him, and was looking for his acceptance and approval over the black people who were booing this black man for the way he has disrespected them and expressed contempt towards them. And as this white man was expressing contempt for them, she expressed even greater contempt by going into full mammy mode, basically talking down to black people in a paternalistic way. And as she was talking down to those black people in Jacksonville in a paternalistic way, she was treating all of those black voters like children, the same way Mammy treats black people on the slave plantation, believing that she's been put in some sort of de facto authority position by her slave masters, and believing that she is the one who's going to be the de facto supervisor for a racist like Ron DeSantis. And this is where the black masses have to build up a resolve and start standing up for themselves. Now, I've heard from people like Professor Black Truth and G-Boot2786 that Jacksonville has a growing black population, and that black population has to understand that Jacoby Pittman is not fit to serve that black community. And she's not fit to serve that black community because it's clear to me that she's a spellbound black woman who puts white supremacy above black people, and has shown that she will compromise with white supremacy in order to get whatever goodies and freebies from the white supremacist system, like an extra piece of cornbread or an extra butter biscuit. She will go out here and sacrifice black people's intangibles like dignity and self-respect, and sacrifice their tangibles in order to go out here and gain favor with Ron DeSantis. And that's not what a representative of we the people should be doing as related to our U.S. Constitution. And when I look at Jacoby Pittman, this is a person that black people cannot pick to represent them politically, because Jacoby Pittman has shown that she is looking to serve white supremacy more than she's looking to serve black people. And this is where black people have to get on code, like the late David Carroll proposes, and we have to come together in Jacksonville to go out here and start picking our own candidates, because that's the only way those black people will get respect, and that's the only way they will be taken seriously. The only way for these black people in that community to take their respect after this black woman has openly disrespected them is to go out here and either, one, put together a petition to recall Jacoby Pittman, or two, go out here and come together and pick a candidate to represent their agenda, run that candidate, vote for that candidate, and vote out Jacoby Pittman, because Jacoby Pittman has basically shown that she is not a servant of we, the black people. No, Jacoby Pittman is a servant of white supremacy, and a servant of white supremacy cannot be allowed to be employed to represent foundational black Americans. That is the standard that foundational black Americans need to have as related to this Mammy. We need to let Mammy know that they are not going to turn Jacksonville into a plantation and continue on with the same white supremacy that motivated this white supremacist to participate in the murder of 3 residents. Because to enable Jacoby Pittman to remain in place would be allowing the same white supremacy that allowed this individual to be motivated to participate in the murder of 3 people. It's the same thing as allowing Jim Crow to remain in place, and that's basically what Jacoby Pittman represents: de facto Jim Crow and anti-black racism. She's basically showing that she supports Jim Crow and anti-black racism, and these policies cannot be tolerated by a black community with some backbone and stones. Now, I watched a Professor Black Truth video where he talked about how several of these people fell silent, and that what we saw right there is another textbook example of what I talk about as related to the spellbound mindset that I talk about in my book Spellbound. And what happens with a lot of black people is whenever they see a white person, what they do is go out here and look to fit into the black box that is acceptable to white people. And what happens is when that person fits into that box, what they do is look to use them as an enforcer and weaponize them to try to get the black masses to fall in line. And that's exactly what happened here with Jacoby Pittman. Jacoby Pittman basically was a woman who fell into the Mammy box and decided to become a Mammy. And that Mammy, what she looked to do was look to become an enforcer of white supremacy, looking to enforce the policies of white supremacy on black people to silence them so that they would not call out Ron DeSantis. And as they were falling silent, what they were doing was becoming spellbound. And again, we have to break out of that spellbound mindset, like I described with the Matilda Crowley character in my novel Spellbound. Because in my novel Spellbound, I talk about breaking out of the spellbound mindset, because breaking out of the spellbound mindset is the only way you can take power. And the way you break out of that mindset is understanding that you as a black person have power, and your power is something you don't sacrifice, and you don't allow others to take away your power. This is what a black person has to understand, because once you break out of the spellbound mindset, then you can start on the road to black empowerment and being the black person you want to be, understanding your value as a black person, understanding your value to your community, and understanding that you are the one who is in charge. You are the one who is supposed to be demanding things from your candidates that are representing you. And you're the one supposed to be picking your candidates, because if you go out here, these people again are paid to represent you. Their job is to bring you tangibles, and if they are crossing party lines to serve white supremacy, they are not fit for office to serve you. And that's the whole thing that you need to understand. What happened here with Jacoby Pittman shows us that red and blue are anti-black, and if a candidate is anti-black, they cannot go out here and actively represent you. Now, what's really interesting is that you had Jacoby Pittman soon after she wound up participating in that farce of a prayer vigil, then going out here and looking to bash Ron DeSantis and other right-wing politicians after she basically showed how loyal she was to white supremacy. She wanted to go out here and make it about right-wing politicians when she clearly showed us that both parties are a part of white supremacy, and she basically is a part of the religion of white supremacy, deifying and worshiping Ron DeSantis, a white man, like a god, and basically making this man into a god, because she basically, again, jumped across political lines to be a part of him, and again showing us that she wasn't loyal to black people, she was loyal to the institution of white supremacy, because only a person loyal to white supremacy would jump across party lines to show favor and approval to a white man in the presence of black people, instead of standing at the side of those black people to demand that Ron DeSantis change his policies as related to black people and hold him accountable for his enabling of these white supremacists with his policies, because it was him that emboldened most of these racists, like the one who participated at the Dollar General shooting. This guy was emboldened by the policies of Ron DeSantis against black people, and he was further emboldened by much of the information he saw on places like the internet and social media, like all of the encouragement that he got at these websites like 4chan and 8chan, and also had this accelerated by these search engines, which with algorithms went out here and presented more results for him that allowed him to see his twisted, rose-colored worldview of hatred of black people. And this is where black people have to start standing up against not only these white supremacists like this shooter, but others like Ron DeSantis who are enabling and creating an environment that enables their violence. And also we have to hold black bootlicks like Jacoby Pittman accountable for their actions, because what Jacoby Pittman did was further encourage and embolden these white supremacists, because they know that there will be a black bootlick to go out here and be a shield for them, because what Jacoby Pittman did with her actions was stand there and be a shield to protect Ron DeSantis from ever having to take any sort of accountability or responsibility for his actions. And this is where we have to ratchet up the pressure on not only these white supremacists and holding them accountable, but we've also got to deal with these black bootlicks. And this is something I talked about way back in the beginning of 2022 in my first live stream of the year. I talked about how Black America, we have a bootlick problem, and the only way to deal with this bootlick problem and people like Jacoby Pittman is for us to cut them out of our social circles, cut them out of our political and business circles, and cut off all contact from these individuals and not allow them to have any influence over the black community. And again, we take that power by taking our votes away from these individuals and giving them to the candidates we choose for ourselves. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction on the SJS Direct imprint, like the ISIS series, the Steam series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy like Spellbound, which goes in depth on the Spellbound mindset, and my other novels and nonfiction, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, and Barnes & Noble. And if you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can send a donation to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, ISIS, Imitation of Life. The Goddess Next Door helps a young black girl overcome racism during the era of Jim Crow in this Golden Age ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, Imitation of Life in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.